Everybody can join there also. So Hare Krishna everyone, welcome back. So we have Achyutanji joining us on YouTube. He has commented, and we also have Vinodji joining us on StreamYard. So it was a very interesting talk just now we had with Kaushik. We were discussing on decision making. We are developing a very nice module called decision making. We are developing some nice course for people so that they can benefit from different spiritual angles, how they can actually make their life very simple through the spiritual secrets that we can share with them. So we are designing very beautiful course, having different modules like decision making, identity crisis, health and nutrition, how to be focused. So different types of these modules will build an overall personality of a human being. So these are very nice concepts. So we are putting in some effort and trying to create these modules. So we are almost done with decision making. Next, we want to work on identity crisis, and these things will really make a person much aware of himself and the potential that each one of us we have. So that is what spirituality makes. Actually, spirituality, many people think it is very impractical, but when you see it from the point of view of Bhagavad Gita, it is very much practical, and you see that all the potential that a human being has can be actually harnessed properly with proper knowledge and guidance. So that is why we try to understand Bhagavad Gita in detail, so that we get a very holistic picture of what is this human life all about. And that is what is Krishna's attempt also in that very short period of time when he is explaining it to Arjuna. Of course, Arjuna is self-realized. He could understand it very quickly, but since we are not at the level of Arjuna, we need discussions again and again and again. So, with this, we will start our session today. We are in the 81st session. So, as usual, let's begin the session with the pranam mantras. I welcome all of you once again for the Bhagavad Gita study circle. So, all of you kindly join your palms and you can chant the mantras along with me. I will display them on the screen. So, all of you, please chant along with me. Let's dedicate this session to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and he's my beloved spiritual master. So let us chant the pranam mantras. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः नमो ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। Hare Krishna, everyone. So, in the previous session, we had discussed until verse number 10 of chapter 8. Chapter 8 is titled as Attaining the Supreme. So, Krishna had explained, and again, this is an answer to Arjuna's question that how one should leave his body at the point of death, what is one's duty. So, prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva भ्रुवोर मध्ये प्राणम आवेश्य सम्यक सतम परम पुरुषम उपैति दिव्यम. So I think we had discussed until verse number 9 briefly, and today we are actually going to start verse number 10. So in verse number 9, we had discussed that how he is the oldest. Krishna is Puranam Purusham. He is not an ordinary person. He is Kavim. So he is actually with full of amazing qualities. The Lord is full of amazing qualities, and along with that, he is also called as Kavi because it's one of the name of the Lord. And we understood that how Kavi can also refer to be as Sarvagna. Sarvagna means all knowing. The Lord is knowing the past, present, and the future. So these things we have understood in the previous session, and one very interesting word which was used in the previous verse was anushasitaram, which means that accordingly, very appropriately, the Lord reprimands a particular soul when he's doing something wrong. So he has that adhikara also. He is our internal guide. So he is the best life coach that we can have because he gives the personalized attention that we all need. We all need that personal attention. We want that personal love. And Lord is always with us as Paramatma, who is giving us that unconditional love all the time. So he is the one to whom we need to approach for proper guidance. And that guidance comes through Bhagavad Gita. So this is what we had understood in the previous verse. So in the 10th verse, let us understand some more very interesting things. So Hina Mataji, you can unmute yourself and let us chant this verse number 10 for today. So very interesting verse. Prayan kale manasa chalena
प्रयाण काले मनसा चलेन
bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva
भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् आवेश्य सम्यक्
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् आवेश्य सम्यक्
सतं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम्.
सतं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम्.
Once again, प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेन
प्रयाण काले मनसा चलेन
भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव
भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश सम्यक्
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् आवेश्य सम्यक्
Satam param purusham upayati divyam.
Satam param purusham upayati divyam.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
One who, at the time of death, fixes his life air between the eyebrows and, by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here Krishna is saying that at the point of death, that is prayanakale, if you can somehow fix our life air, pranavayu, between the eyebrows, and then by the strength of yoga balena, if you can fix your life force, Bruvar Madhye, with undeviating mind, and if you can remember the Supreme Lord in full devotion, then you can attain Krishna automatically, without any doubt. So, this is very interesting, and Krishna is giving us the hint here now how to actually attain Him. So, from this verse to the upcoming words, a few verses, Krishna is actually going to explain Yoga Mishrita Bhakti. So, he is going to talk about Bhakti, which is Yoga Mishrita. Mishran means mixture. So, Yoga Mishrana Bhakti means a Bhakti which is mixed with yoga. Yoga of what? This the Astanga Yoga specifically, which is mentioned here, Dhyana Yoga, which is being explained here. So, this is what we will understand now. Krishna is going to explain this in brief. He says that in the next verse. So, just like when you're cooking some dish, see if there is salt is the main ingredient. You see, salt is the main ingredient in that dish. If there is no salt, you will not feel it tasty. Similarly, if you are making some sweet dish and then if there is no sugar, then it will not taste properly. So you need to add sugar. Sugar becomes the most prominent ingredient of that particular dish if you are cooking something sweet, right? So just like sugar or salt becomes the most important ingredient of a particular dish. Similarly, in this particular words, the most important word is achalena bhaktya. So, again, Krishna is stressing on the undeviated bhakti, achalena bhaktya. That's the most important thing here that we need to understand. So, many types of meditations have been explained before. But Krishna is again constantly reiterating that Achalena Bhaktya, Bhakti is the most important thing. So, when the mind is controlled with Yoga Bala, mind cannot be controlled without Yoga Bala. Yoga Bala is required. Yoga is required only with the Yoga Bala. Yoga Bala means again, you're practicing some spiritual principles. Through spiritual principles, we can control the mind. Because mind is much above the senses. If you are trying to control the mind through the senses, no, it's going to be very difficult. And mind is material right now. So if you want to actually control it, we need something higher, and that is spiritual. What is spiritual? Atma is spiritual. So at the level of Atma, when we start becoming more and more self-realized through the practice of yoga, then you actually start getting the yoga bala. And with that yoga bala, the principles of devotion, the principles of yoga, when you get that bala, then controlling the mind becomes very, very easy, very, very simple. This is what we need to understand. So, in the previous ages, if you want to attain bhakti, people used to follow this Astanga Yoga process, and you know that the seventh stage of Astanga Yoga is actually dhyana and then samadhi. So, in dhyana, what happens? They actually focus, all their life force is focused on the Agnya Chakra. Prabhupada explains this in the purport also. They focus here on the Agnya Chakra. So there are different types of chakras. There are six chakras, Shadda chakras in our bodies, and then there is the Kundalini. So this chakras get activated by spiritual practices. When there is yoga bala, all these different chakras within the body, which are the energy centers within our body, they get activated. And that is why a person becomes very vibrant. When all these different chakras are activated, then a person becomes very vibrant, full of life and energy. So when this life force is now focused between the eyebrows, and then with full devotion, when we remember the Supreme Lord and then leave the body, then it becomes easy to attain the supreme abode. Satam param purusham upaiti divyam. So it becomes very easy to attain that supreme abode. So now, in this Kali Yuga, we know that we have bodies which are very, very weak and very limited in terms of age, in terms of the bodily strength. It's quite limited. It's not very conducive for actually practicing Astanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Already the minds are disturbed with a lot of things. So, how do we now focus our life force on that Bhruva Madhya? It is not going to be possible. Now, how do we actually attain that supreme abode then? So that is why, if you see carefully, this process that Prabhupada has given us of following the four regulative principles and chanting the holy name 16 rounds, the Mahamantra 16 rounds, what happens is all these different things that we are talking about, the chakras getting activated and the Kundalini Jagrat, they say, all these things automatically happen. We don't have to do anything else. And the best part is when we actually chant and practice this following of four regulative principles, we become more and more purified. And then, by constant remembrance, because chanting means what? Constant remembrance of the Lord. You are remembering the Lord constantly. So, at the point of death, the devotee really does not have to think so seriously about focusing your mind and bringing it in the middle of the eyebrows. And oh, it is all not required. Very painful situation it is at the point of death. But for a devotee, since he has already practiced remembering the Lord all throughout his life by chanting the different prayers, by chanting the Mahamantra, so it becomes relatively very easy for such a devotee. It becomes very easy to remember the Lord. So in this Kali Yuga, that is why Harinam is being constantly stressed. It is being stressed because this is the Yuga Dharma. Yuga Dharma is chanting the holy names. This we should understand. So there was this one Mataji, Prabhupada's disciple, who, while she was getting old and she actually lost all her memory, and she could not even recognize her own near and dear ones, her family members, and all the people she knew. Nothing she was knowing. She had forgotten most of the things, but she remembered only one thing, and that was Mahamantra. So everything was forgotten, but she was remembering only Mahamantra. And at the point of death, all she could say is only the Mahamantra. And she left the body like that, just remembering the Mahamantra. So, this is the power of devotion. When we chant, the Lord will, seeing our sincerity, He will remind us of what is actually needed, even at the point of death. So there are many such cases. Even if you look at the case of Ajamila, which comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ajamila was a great Brahmana. He was a very good Brahmana. And unfortunately, because of wrong association with the prostitute, he became a debauch and he became a murderer, he became a thief, and he got into all the nonsensical activities. So, although he was doing all this nefarious activities, it once so happened that he actually treated the Vaishnavas very well who had come to his home. And he had kept all his family members away, and in spite of their arguments and all those things, their opposition, he still served the Vaishnavas very nicely, because somewhere he had done devotion earlier in his life, so he could appreciate the value of Vaishnavas, and he had served them very nicely at his home. And looking at this, the Vaishnavas also understood that he has the tinge of bhakti in him, and then they had actually advised him to keep the youngest son's name as Narayana. And by the blessings of Vaishnavas, he kept the name of the younger son as Narayana. And we know that at the point of death, when he was leaving the body, the Yamadutas came and they had come with Yamapasha. They wanted to put that Pasha along his neck and wanted to drag him away. And that time, in that fearful situation, he actually called out his younger son's name, Narayana, Narayana. And with that intense call, even the Vishnu Dutas came and appeared there, and they started having a discussion with the Yamadutas. Now, the Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas had an argument. They said, Yamaduta said, we will take him to Yamaloka. Vishnu Duta said, we are going to take him to Vaikunta, because he has taken the name of the holy names. So Yamadutas also understood that these personalities, these Vishnu Dutas, are very brilliant and very effulgent. They seem to be more powerful than us. So better that we go to Yamaduta, Yamaraja, and ask him what to do. Yamaraja clearly states that anybody who is chanting the holy names, Yamadutas do not touch that person. That is an order of Yamaraja. Anybody who is chanting the holy name, they will not come near to you, the Yamadutas. So then he got a second chance. So he did not go to Vaikunta immediately, but Ajamila was given a second chance, and then later on he goes to a pilgrimage, I think Haridwar, and there he sits for meditation and does a lot of devotional service, and then he quits his body, remembering the Supreme Lord, and goes back to Vaikunta. So the point here is, for devotees, when they are constantly engaged in devotional service, they're chanting all these different methods that we talk about, the different yoga processes are really not required in this Kali Yuga, because Kali Yuga, the process of Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. So that is why it is simplified in Kali Yuga and given it to us, so that just by chanting the holy names, we can attain that supreme abode of the Lord. And very easy method, it's a very joyful method. That's why spiritual life is full of bliss. So we should take advantage of this particular situation that we are in, and never miss this opportunity of chanting the holy name. Any moment, any time, when you are even waiting in some queue, you're waiting for some auto driver or cab driver, or you are waiting for something to do, if there is any little time, just chant and vibrate your tongue and chant the holy names. So that's the best utility of time. And that is how we need to practice. Any free time, anywhere, either on the street, either in the while commuting, anywhere you get some time, just chant the holy names. So this will help us during prayana kale manasa chalena. See, achalena bhakti is the most important. So then what happens is, when you chant the holy names, you will automatically get the yoga bala. You will start getting that spiritual strength. And when you get that spiritual strength, then what will happen is, all that chakras, the Shad chakras will get activated. The energy centers within your bodies will get activated. And the Kundalini also. The Kundalini, generally, they say that in the Yoga Shastra, it is like a lotus flower. You see, when the lotus flower is closed, it will not accumulate all the cosmic energy that is coming through to us through the head. You know, night when we sleep, it is said, some yogis and some books, they yoga shastras, they say that how during sleep there is a lot of cosmic energy that flows through our body, through the head and all the different chakras, and then finally it falls, the cosmic drops fall on the kundalini, which is like a lotus. Now if the kundalini is closed, the drops will just flow away to the ground. But then when you actually do yoga, the process of yoga, or you chant, then what happens is, the kundalini Jagrat will happen, the lotus will open up. And then what will happen is, all the cosmic energy, the life force that you're receiving, will get accumulated in the Kundalini. So then you will become very, very powerful. You will get a lot of spiritual strength. The Yoga Bala will come. So this is the material aspect of it. So the yogic aspect of it. But from the devotional perspective, we really don't care what happens through the Shad Chakras and the Kundalini. We are not focused on that. The focus is on the bhakti. So when you do bhakti and when you are constantly in touch with that supreme spirit soul, then these things will automatically be taken care by the Paramatma within the heart. So we don't have to exclusively spend time on all these different things, because it will be taken care. And that is what happened to all the Westerners also when they hippies, they joined Prabhupada's movement. What happened is when they were chanting the holy name, you see how the lives got transformed. They were into all nonsensical things, but then when they came in touch with the pure devotee, all these different transformations within the body, within the mind, within the intellect, intelligence, everything got changed. Why? Because they were chanting the holy name and they were associating with the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Right? So this is the process, which is Yoga Mishrita Bhakti, that is being explained by Krishna in this particular verse. So let us go to the next verse and understand the 11th verse now. So, Dave, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the next verse. Yadaksharam Vedavido Vadanti
यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति
Vishanti Yadyatayo Vitaragaha
विशन्ति यद्यतयो वितारगः
Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti
यद् इच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति
तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये.
तत्ते पदं सङ्ग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये
Once again, Yadaksharam Vedavido Vadanti
यद् अक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति
Vishanti Yadyatayo Vitaragaha
विशन्ति यतयो वितरागः
Yad Ichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti
यद् इच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति
तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये.
तत्ते पदं सङ्ग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये.
Wonderful. So please read the translation.
Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are the great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Hare Krishna.
Yes, wonderful. So here Krishna is saying that, so one who is learned in the Vedas, so who are uttering the Omkara, and then who are desiring for perfection, they practice Brahmacharya, and then all these things will be explained by me in brief. So Krishna is telling that how Yad Aksharam Veda Vido Vadanti. So here in the previous verse, this Aksharam Shabda had come. Krishna had used this term Aksharam. Aksharam means what? Shara means that which comes to an end. Akshara means that which will not end. That is Aksharam. One meaning of it, Aksharam is one that which is not going to end. Aksharam also means that all that is between a and cha, the alphabets between a and cha, is called Aksharam, and that is nothing but the Omkara, right? So, yet Aksharam Veda Vido Vadanti, one who is very qualified, one who has understood the Vedas, read the Vedas properly, and Vishanti Yat Yatayo Vitaya Ragaha, Vitaragaha. So this means that there is also a process being followed by the great sages, by the great rishis. So what do? They are constantly chanting the Aksharam, the Omkara, and the Omkara is the mantra, which is the Vedic mantra used before every Vedic mantra. You take any mantra, Omkara is, it starts with Omkara. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gang Ganpate Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. You see, all the Vedic mantras, they actually start with Omkara. So now those who have actually understood spiritual life through the process of the jnana, they have understood the Vedas, Veda Vido Vadanti, they also practice it. It's not simply accumulating the theoretical knowledge of the Vedas, which is sufficient. It is not sufficient. If you want to attain perfection, you actually need to practice. So when you practice all those different instructions given in the Vedas, that is when the churning happens within the heart, because that is when the realizations come. Realization will not come just by theoretical understanding of the Vedas. We need to practice the Vedas, instruction of the Vedas, and then we get it. And the very first aspect of practice, here Krishna is saying, Yat icchanto brahmacharyam charanti. So, practicing brahmacharya is the primary requirement for yoga process. Please understand, there is no yoga process or there is no perfection in yoga unless we follow yoga properly only through brahmacharya. Brahmacharyam is very important. Now, Prabhupada is saying that there is no school, college, or university in the world which actually teaches us what is brahmacharya, right? There is nobody explaining and trying to make us understand what is brahmacharya. In fact, in Kali Yuga, brahmacharyam is nowhere there, because by the time we go to school, you see there is already co-education, boys and girls study together, and we know after a certain age, then there is the natural attraction that happens because that is prakriti, and then where is the question of brahmacharyam today? But in the olden days, it was not like that. In the Vedic times, we know until the age of 25, there was strict celibacy. Brahmacharyam gives a lot of strength and energy for both, for man and woman. When they follow celibacy, then there is a lot of spiritual strength. If we want to attain spiritual bala just by practicing celibacy, that itself will give you so much of strength, and that gives you strength to follow dharma, to be on the right path. When you are actually practicing brahmacharya properly, then it makes us very fearless. So, for a sage, he has to become free from the fear of death, right? So, the fear of death is easily conquered when someone practices brahmacharya properly. When somebody practices brahmacharya, the fear of death is gone, because that spiritual bala will come. He understands that I'm not this body. Because the more somebody gets involved or breaks the principles of brahmacharya, then the more he thinks I'm the body. The more one thinks I'm the body, then the fear comes in. Oh, I'm going to die. The fear of death is there. Why? Because the bodily consciousness. Because I want to enjoy this body. The more you want to enjoy this body, the more you think that I'm this body. And more you think I'm the body, the fear will come. Oh, I'm going to leave this body one day. How will I enjoy without this body? You see how these are all connected? That's why it's all consciousness, the game of consciousness. By practicing brahmacharya, and especially for the first 25 years, then what happens is you are very strong. By 25 years, you know that I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. Already that is known to you. All that you do after 25 years is now, when you get into even Grihastha ashram, you know very clearly the principles of brahmacharya and you become a Grihastha brahmachari actually. You will actually engage in the Grihastha occupational duties only for dharma, procreating children. That is how you will take it. So that is why brahmacharya is the primary force, primary strength that anybody who, in the path of spiritual life, has to practice. Without brahmacharya, there cannot be a spiritual life. It is not possible. So, because we need to activate, right? Krishna is saying you need to activate the chakras, you need to activate the kundalini. But if you are engaged in all the sensual activities, then it is not possible. The energy is drained away from all these chakras. So that is why brahmacharya is very important. One needs to follow brahmacharya properly, right? And Krishna is saying, if you read the Vedas, if you chant the Omkara, if you follow the brahmacharya properly, and then you become free from all the unwanted vitaragaha or different types of attachments, then all these things become very easy to you, and I will explain the process in brief. So let us see what is that in brief. So Vinodji, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the next verse, that is the 12th verse. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
मनोहृदि निरुद्य च
मनोहृदि निरुद्ध च
मूर्धन्याधायात्मन प्राणम्
मुद्गन्याध्यात्म प्राणम्
आस्थितो योगधारणाम्.
आस्थितो योगधारणना
Once again, सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
मनोहृदि निरुध्य च
मनोहृदि निरुद्ध च
मूर्धन्याधायात्मन प्राणम्
मूर्धन्याध्यात्म प्राण्यम्
आस्थितो योगधारणा.
आस्थितो योगधारणना.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Hare Krishna.
Okay, wonderful. Very nice. Thank you. So here it's very interesting. It is said here, Sarvadvarani Samyamya. In one of the previous session, we had discussed that this body is called as Navadware Pure. Right? This is a city of 9 gates. Correct? So there are 9 gates in this body. So Krishna is saying, Sarvadvarani Samyamya. We need to actually purify all these 9 gates within this city of our body. So that means all the senses needs to be purified. How do we purify the senses? By eating prasadam, by chanting the holy name, by looking at the deities in the temple, by hearing the spiritual sound vibration, by touching the deities, by dressing the deities. So by doing all these different activities, all the 5 senses are getting purified. All our senses are getting purified. So when these are getting purified, then we should also understand that there are in the body 72,000 nadis. So this body is also called as the Pindanda. Just like there is Brahmanda, I had explained this before, there is this body which is also called as Pindanda. Whatever is there in this universe, all that is there in the body also. There are so many rivers in the universe. All those rivers are there in our body also. Everything is there. So this is a mini universe. This body is a mini universe, which is having all that is there in the big universe. So that is why it is called Pindanda. So these 72 nadis are there, which are again all these energy channels through which the energy keeps moving. And in this 72,000, there is the 36,000 on the left side, 36,000 on the right side. And the right side, they represent all they are the male nadis. Then the left side, they actually are the female nadis. So this is how there are these nadis, 72,000. In that, there are 101 prominent nadis. In that, again, 101, there are about 11 prominent nadis. In those 11, there are 3 nadis which are very prominent. And in those 3, there is 1 nadi which is very prominent, that is called the Brahma nadi. So, in the olden days, when the doctors, they used to check the patient, they used to not use the stethoscope or any other modern equipment. They will just check your pulse, nadi checkup, they say, no, these days. Even now, there are many doctors like that, Ayurvedic doctors and all. Just by checking your nadi, the pulse of your nadi, they will understand what is the kapha pitta dosha, and they will accordingly treat you. You see, that is how they treat. That's the science. So there are so many nadis. So Brahma Nadi is the already purified nadi. You don't have to purify it. It is already a purified nadi. All other nadis and dwaras, nadi and dwara. Sometimes nadis are also referred to as dwaras. So sarva dwarani samyamya. That means all the nadis needs to be purified. Energy centers, energy channels needs to be purified. That is the process. Then mano ridi nirudhyacha. Your mind, mana, should focus on the ridi. Ridi means hridaya. Why hridaya? Why mind should be focused on one particular organ? It is not focusing on the heart as an organ. Heart, Dhridi, also is one of the name of Narayana. It refers to Narayana actually. So our mind, Mano, Riddhi means actually the mind should get fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So only when that happens, then the purification will become more fast, more quick. Now, life force can leave from the eyes, from the ears, from the nose, anywhere, right? Now, because there are Navadwara, the soul, life force is nothing but the soul. At the point of death, the soul can leave this body from any of the nine dwaras. Now, if the soul leaves from the lower dwaras, the genitals or the rectum, then the soul is actually degraded. I mean, it is going down in consciousness, or it will take birth in lower species in the next life. If the soul leaves from the lower dwaras, if the soul leaves from the eyes or the ears, then it is also said that the soul may enter into the Brahmaloka or the higher planetary systems. So the soul will go like that. But now, for a spiritualist, when the soul leaves from the Brahmarandra is on the top. Here, there, that is where the Shika is there, right? From the Shika, that's why the Shika is protecting the Brahmarandra. That's why the Shika is kept. So when the soul leaves from the Brahmarandra, which is a very sensitive point, then the soul is liberated. When the soul at the point of death, it will burst. It said many times. It is said it will burst. The Atma will come out of the Brahmarandra, and then it will go into the spiritual world, in the spiritual kingdom. So this is the process of yogi. Actually, the life force, uh, it goes to the Shushumna Nadi. There is one of the Nadi, Shushumna Nadi, which is a very important Nadi, where through which the soul who meditates on the Supreme Lord, the life force has to go to the Shushumna Nadi, and the yogi then has to chant the Omkara, and then the soul will leave from the Brahmarandra. So this is the process. There are a lot of details here because this is the yogic process, and actually we don't get into the yogic process so much. So, but Krishna is still explaining these things so that we know. So for devotee, all these different things are not mentioned. You just chant the holy names, and then Krishna will take care. The Vishnu Dutas will take care of whether your soul should come from which dwara, and they will ensure that everything is proper. So you don't have to worry about so much which dwara I will go through. So those things are not to be worried, because we are all going to be devotees very soon. We are in the process already, right? So purification, manoridhi nirudhyacha, then automatically yoga dharanam. When you Shushumna Nadi, when you reach, you bring that life force there to Shushumna Nadi, and you actually keep that life force there, and then you meditate on the Supreme Lord. Then we can actually take the soul out of the body through the Brahmarandra, and then get liberated. So very, very powerful. Okay, so let's go and chant the next verse. So Hina Mataji, you can unmute yourself again. So let us chant the next one. ओमिति एकाक्षरं ब्रह्म
ओमिति एकाक्षरं ब्रह्मा
व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन्
व्यावहरन् मामनुस्मरन्
यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहम्
यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहम्
स याति परमां गतिम्.
स याति परमां गतिम्.
Again, Om Ityekaksharam Brahma
ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्मा
Vyaharan Mamanusmaran
व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन्
Yaprayati Tyajandeham
यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहम्
Sayati Paramam Gatim.
स याति परमां गतिम्.
Beautiful. Please read the translation.
After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. See, very clear and straightforward. Krishna is saying. So, when you are situated in the yoga practice, that means you are meditating on the Omkara, the syllable Om, which is the combination of all the letters. And then, if you think of the personality of Godhead and quit your body, then you will certainly reach the spiritual planets. So, when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we should know that Omkara is included in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How is it so? See, Krishna is Purna. Krishna is complete. So, when he is complete, Omkara is already included in the name Krishna itself because Krishna is complete. So when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, it actually means that you are chanting Omkara also because Omkara is already included because Krishna is all, is Purna, is complete. So Omkara is already included. But the Omkara does not include the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada says this. So when you chant the Omkara, then you will go and realize the Brahma Jyoti or there is a Brahman realization. So Bhagwan can be the Supreme Personality or the Supreme Absolute Truth can be understood in three phases. There is Brahman realization, there is Paramatma realization and the Bhagwan realization. So when you chant only the Omkara will give you realization of only the Brahman. So you can go to that Brahman realization, but then you will not sustain there for a long time. You will come back again to the material world. You cannot stay for long in Brahman realization, in the Brahma Jyoti, because there is no interaction. The soul needs interaction with someone. That is how Ananda will come. So that is why again they fall back to the material platform. So now, when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we will go to the Paramam Gatim. So for devotees of Krishna, the Paramam Gatim is Goloka Vrindavana. That's the spiritual planet, and the spiritual planet where Krishna, the personal form of Krishna, is there. The original personality of Krishna is there. That is Goloka Vrindavana. Otherwise, also, those devotees, the yogis who meditate on the form of the Lord, they go to one of the Vaikuntha planets where there is a form of different aspects of Narayana. So they will associate with Narayana different Vaikuntha planets. So this is possible. And now for us, the practical thing is we should at least start thinking of leaving our body in this way because death can come any moment, any time. I just want to tell you, I want to share one very a tragic incident that happened actually when we were going for a trip. I, myself, and another devotee, and there were many other youngsters, the folk devotees, the college students, and the professionals, some of them. We all were on a trip. We were going for a Rath Yatra to Mangalore. And while we were going, in the night, we had boarded a bus from Bangalore, and then on a way to Mangalore, early morning, when the sun was just rising, we stopped by a small rivulet, and then We were very excited to take bath and then go to Mangalore there. It was a very scenic, very beautiful place. So we all got down and then we were refreshing ourselves in that place, taking the dip in the river, and the force of the water was there. It was quite a bit. And then there was this one boy who was, he was brushing his teeth, and there were others also along with him, and he walked a little distance, and we all saw him. We were all playing and we were all chanting the mantra and all those things. And then we had a nice experience. And then this boy goes a little further and he gets into the water, and he slipped, and there was sand below. He didn't realize that it was quite deep, and then he was not knowing swimming. And then he drowned. Just when everybody was busy playing, he actually drowned, and there were some devotees who tried to pull him back, but we could not. He just drowned because the sand was very loose and he got into the water. And for a few minutes, we were all in chaos. And then we were checking out what happened. And then there we see that this person has drowned, and we could not find his body for almost 20-25 minutes. Then the locals came, and then somehow they got into the waters deep, and then they pulled him out. But by then it was too late. Now, there was this person who was alive right in front of us. Few minutes later, he was gone. This happened to us, and then I realized, oh my God. Even now, when I think about that incident, I think that life is uh, so unpredictable. We just don't know when that will come. So that incident really reminds me of how death is so powerful, and we should be alert. One good thing was that he was in the association of devotees, and all throughout the journey we were doing a lot of sankirtan and all that. But then such a wonderful soul left us. And once it so happened that I was in Puri Jagannath, and we were all taking a dip in the ocean there, and there was a big wave which came, and it took me away inside, and I don't know swimming. So I was actually trying to get one breath in that deep water. I was struggling, and all the devotees were there, but I had gone a little inside in the waters, and there was one lifeguard actually who saw, and then he threw that tube, tire tube, and somehow at the last breath probably I caught hold of that particular tube and somehow pulled myself up again and took fresh air. And then everybody pulled me back, and then I was, oh my God, back to life. So it was a near death experience. So such things can happen anytime. I'm sure you must also have gone through some incidents like this, where you have gone through near death experiences. So I'm just saying that we need to be alert. And mind you, when that was happening in the water, I could not think of Krishna, because all that I was thinking is, oh, somehow I should breathe. I could not think of Krishna at that point of time. All these things remind me that how our bhakti is still not so matured. We need to really work hard, and we should get prepared for the ultimate exam. So we should become serious sometimes. When these incidents I think of, and especially when these verses are coming in Bhagavad Gita, talking more about Antakale, Prayanakale. So this is all reminding me of those incidents. And sometimes we forget, life makes us forget, time makes us forget all these things. But this is a good, we are able to discuss again and remind ourselves that it can come anytime. So we should be prepared. So very interesting. So this is one thing. So another thing is I still don't know swimming. In fact, I want to learn swimming now, if possible. I don't get time for it, but then my niece and all, they keep telling me they're experts in swimming, so they keep telling that no, we will teach you. So hopefully that will happen sometime. So anyway, just because we learn swimming doesn't mean that will not come. It can come in some other way. So we should be prepared. So, Dave, you can unmute yourself. Let's chant the next verse, 14th verse. अनन्यचेताः सततम्
अनन्यचेता सततम्
यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः
यो मां स्मरति नित्यसः
तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ
तस्याहं सुलभः पार्था
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः.
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः.
Once again, अनन्यचेताः सततम्
अनन्यचेता सततम्
यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः
यो मां स्मरति नित्यसः
तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ
तस्याहं सुलभः पार्था
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः.
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you. So it's a very straightforward, clear words Krishna is saying here that Ananya Bhakti, Chetaha Satatam, Ananya Chetaha Satatam, you're constantly remembering, you are Nitya Yuktaha. This Yukta is very frequently used in Bhagavad Gita. So one who is constantly engaged. So a yogi is constantly engaged. Nitya Yuktaha. Nitya means constantly. So Nitya Yukta means constantly engaged. This yogi will, without deviation, think about me, and then he will attain the highest perfection. He will come to me automatically. So, such a person who has practiced yoga, he has put his life force on the Brahmarandra, focusing on the Omkara syllable, and then with full devotion. Devotion is the key. So, if there is no devotion, then they will enter into Brahman. The Brahman realization they will get. But if there is devotion to Krishna, towards Krishna, that is when we actually enter into the Vaikuntha or the Golok Vrindavana. So devotion is the key factor here. So we are not simply interested only in the Brahman realization. We are actually, as devotees, interested in associating with associating with Krishna and his other devotees. So that is what we are looking for, and we know that we can relate to Krishna in different forms. There are 5 different rasas. Krishna Prabhupada also mentions that in the purport, that there is a Shantarasa, bhakti neutrality, there is dasya rasa, bhakti in the mood of servitude, then there is sakhya rasa, bhakti in the mood of friendship, then vatsalya, bhakti in the mood of parenthood, then there is madhurya, bhakti in the mood of loving devotional service. So this is what devotees are interested in. Devotees actually, they are not so much thinking about liberation. The pure devotees, it is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that devotees are not really worried about liberation. They are not thinking about liberation. Their only duty or their only thing in the mind is that I want to be engaged in devotional service. That's it. Devotional service of the Lord. Because liberation is waiting at the doorstep of such devotees. Liberation, the Mukti Mata, she is waiting. Oh, come, I'll take you back to God. Pure devotees are like that. That liberation is waiting for them. It's not that they wait for liberation. You see? So the devotees are only thinking whether it is heaven, hell, earth, anywhere, or in the spiritual world, I just want to be engaged in devotional service of the Lord. So for such a devotee, it really doesn't matter where they are, whether in the material world or the spiritual world. So that is Shuddha Prema Bhakti. So that Shuddha Prema Bhakti is what we need to strive for. And that is very nicely achievable through the process of Krishna consciousness that Prabhupada has given us. Right? So this is what Krishna has said in the 14th verse. So Vinodji, let us chant the last verse for today, that is 15th verse. So it's very, very nice, interesting verse. So you can unmute yourself. मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म
मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म
दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम्
दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम्
नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः
नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः
संसिद्धिं परमां गतः.
संसिद्धिं परमगतः.
Once again, मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म
मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म
दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतम्.
दुःखायं वससरासतम्
नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः
नापवन्ति महात्मानः
संसिद्धिं परमां गतः.
संसिद्धिं परं नाम गतः.
Wonderful. So please read the translation.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Just see, so nicely Krishna is saying here that this is a very famous verse. You know, we have always discussed this. Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashwatam. This world is how designed as dukkhalayam ashashwatam. So this is dukkhalaya. It is not sukhalaya. Sukhalaya is not there here. It is dukkhalaya. To find sukha in dukkhalaya is craziness. Because the world is designed as dukkhalaya by Krishna himself. And we are trying to become happy here in this dukkhalaya. So we should not become foolish. Krishna is clearly stating that this is ashashwatam, temporary world. It is dukkhalaya. Why should we be here? So, napnuvanti mahatmanaha. So this mahatmana, they will never again come to this material world, this dukkhalayam and ashashwatam world. They will come to me. They will never take again punarjanma into this temporary dukkhalayam world. That is the promise of Krishna. We don't have to come back to this. They are not really interested in coming back to this, right? So this is an alaya of dukkha, just like Himalaya, alaya of Hima, snow. There is alaya of library, that is Granthalaya. So this is dukkhalaya. So we should not get into this dukkhalaya again. Get rid of this, escape this. So it is possible only if we leave the body in yoga. If we are only engaged in bhoga and then roga, then we cannot attain liberation. Liberation is possible only by practicing yoga. But most people today, they only are interested in bhoga and they get into roga. And if this is happening, then how can somebody get liberation? It is not possible. So if we want to get liberated, then we should practice yoga, because yoga balena, only through the bala of yoga we can actually escape this, not through bhoga and roga. So that is why, like I told you before, that pure devotees are not interested in anything material. They are only looking for that which is permanent. Everyone is looking for permanence, and that permanence is promised here by Krishna. So he is clearly stating, Napnuvanti. These Mahatmas will never come back to this Ashashwatam world. They will come to the permanent world. Right? So these are a few things that we have discussed today. We have covered almost 6 verses today, and these are very important section of the 8th chapter. And the next chapter, of course, we have some more verses to cover in 8th chapter. But I'm telling you, in the next chapter, that is 9th chapter, is actually the beginning of the devotional services, and in depth of it's the crux of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhakti Yoga is going to be explained in detail in the 9th chapter. Very, very special. So we are all getting ready. We are preparing ourselves for that particular thing by understanding these basic principles. So this is the elevation of consciousness from chapter to chapter to chapter. So that is how Krishna is taking us in this Bhagavad Gita journey, right? So in the next session, we also wanted to discuss a little bit of the importance of having an appropriate and right guru, the qualities of a right guru or a qualified guru, a bona fide guru. So we will try to understand that also bit by bit. So at least 15 minutes of the session, we will discuss on the importance of having a bona fide guru and the qualities of a bona fide guru. All these different things we will start understanding. So along with the Bhagavad Gita, 15 minutes we will also discuss on these things. So this will help. So every session, 15 minutes we will dedicate for some topics like this. So that will be good. Okay. So any questions, anything that you want to ask related to today's session, or anything that you want to ask related to anything, any spirituality, anything?
Prabhuji, uh,
Yes.
so when we do seva for Tulsi, uh,
Huh.
I just read it somewhere that on Sundays you don't give water to it, and on Ekadashi you don't give water and you hide it from the sun. So I don't know, like, what should I do?
No, generally it's not like watering. The watering can be done. The main thing is for Tulsi, we should not pluck the Tulsi leaves on Dwadashi,
Right,
because she's a pure devotee and she's also fasting on Ekadashi. So on
right.
the day of Ekadashi, we should not pluck the Tulsi leaves. We
Okay,
should do it the day before, or we should actually uh, on Dwadashi we should not pluck the uh, leaves.
yeah,
So because she's very weak after the fasting, so that's why Sanatan Goswami, the Goswamis have told to not pluck the leaves on Dwadashi day. And of course, it is also mentioned in scriptures on even on Amavasya, we don't pluck the. But Sanatan Goswami, he has told that on Dwadashi, so definitely we should not pluck the tulsi leaves.
right,
If they are naturally fallen down, you can still use those leaves for offering.
right,
Even the little dry leaves and other things, if which are naturally fallen, you can pick them up and you can offer them. You can use them for offering, but we should not
right.
pluck. Otherwise, watering is not a problem. Watering you can do for tulsi
Every day.
anytime, every
Okay,
day. Especially in the winter season, we should ensure that tulsi is not kept inside. It should get sufficient sunlight. Especially in winters, we should take care of tulsi. But anyway, in Mumbai, you don't have to worry because there is
mm,
no very severe winter there. Only when severe
right.
winters in cold places, tulsi will not grow during winters. Otherwise, no problem. You can water it.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. All right then. So please take care, and we will again meet next Sunday. And next Sunday, every 15 minutes, we will also discuss along with Bhagavad Gita some important topics, some small topics we will take, and we will cover them. Okay. So if any questions, you can please feel free to ask in the group. Please take care. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.